Princess Silara stood on the grand balcony of her palace, staring at the twin moons of Velfar Prime. The cold wind carried the scent of metallic flowers from the royal gardens, but she found no comfort in their fragrance. Tonight should have been a celebration, another grand ball, another chance to find a suitor, but instead, it had been another night of rejection. She clenched her fists, her small fingers tightening against the silk of her gown. No matter how many times she tried, no matter how many alien princes and noble heirs she met, the result was always the same. Too small, they said. Too fragile, they whispered. Unfit for a strong ruler's mate, they judged. Silara was the heir to the Velthari Empire, one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Her people were known for their tall, commanding presence, their strength in both politics and war. But Silara was different. While others in her species stood over 7 feet tall, she barely reached 5. Her violet skin was a shade too soft, her golden eyes too delicate. Her father, Emperor Virex, had hoped her royal status would outweigh these flaws. But Silara knew the truth. Among her own people, she was undesirable. She sighed, closing her eyes as the wind brushed through her silver hair. Maybe this was how her life would always be. Alone, unwanted. Nothing more than a political tool that no one wanted to use. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. She turned as the palace's eye assistant spoke. Your Highness, Lord Zarn of the Yilk's Dominion has sent his formal response to your courtship proposal. Silara's heart sank. She already knew what it would say. Play the message, she commanded, her voice calm but hollow. A hologram flickered to life in front of her. Lord Zarn, a tall reptilian alien with crimson scales and piercing yellow eyes, appeared. His expression was neutral, but his voice carried no warmth. Princess Silara of Velfar, I regret to inform you that I must decline your proposal. While your empire is powerful, I require a mate of greater stature, both physically and politically. I wish you well in your search. The message ended. Silara stared at the empty air where the hologram had been, her chest tight with frustration. Another rejection, another confirmation that she was not enough. She turned away, walking back inside her chambers. The grand room was filled with treasures from across the galaxy. Golden tapestries, rare gemstones, gifts from species who respected the Velthari Empire. But what was the use of power if it could not buy her happiness? A soft knock came at the door. It was her closest advisor, Counselor Merrill, an elderly Velthari woman who had served the royal family for decades. My princess, Merrill said gently, stepping inside. Another rejection. Silara nodded. She did not need to speak. Merrill had seen this pattern too many times before. The old woman sighed, her silver robe swaying as she moved closer. Perhaps it is time to consider another path. Silara frowned. What do you mean? Merrill hesitated for a moment, then spoke carefully. Your Highness, the galaxy is vast. While the noble houses of the major empires reject you, there is one species known for seeing value in what others overlook. Silara narrowed her eyes. You mean humans? Merrill nodded. Yes, Princess. Humans are unpredictable, strange, and often reckless. But they are also different from other species. They do not always judge by size or strength. They value intelligence, resilience, and heart. Silara had heard stories of humans. They were a young race, new to the galactic stage, but already causing waves across the stars. Some called them troublemakers. Others called them game changers. She tapped her fingers against the armrest of her chair, thinking, could this truly be an option? Seeking a mate among humans. It was unheard of. It would be seen as desperate, maybe even scandalous. But what other choice did she have? For the first time in a long while, a spark of hope flickered in Silara's chest. If no one in the galaxy wanted her, perhaps it was time to look beyond the expectations of her own people. She met Merrill's gaze and took a deep breath. Find me a human, she said. The counselor bowed. As you wish, Your Highness. And so, the search began. Princess Silara sat inside her royal shuttle, staring out at the endless sea of stars. For the first time in her life, she was leaving the safety of her empire without a fleet escort. No honor guards, no grand welcome awaiting her. This was not an official diplomatic mission. This was something much more personal. She was searching for a human. Her advisor, Counselor Merrill, had worked quickly. Within days, they had gathered information on humans with strong reputations in the galactic community. Most were soldiers, traders, or explorers. But one name stood out: Captain Ryan Carter. A former diplomat turned mercenary, Ryan was known for his unconventional methods. Unlike most humans who served in the Galactic Council, he had no official ties to Earth's government. He worked with whoever paid him. But more importantly, he had experience dealing with powerful alien factions. Some saw him as reckless. Others saw him as brilliant. Silara was not sure which one he truly was, but he was the only human willing to meet with her. The shuttle landed on Draction 4, a neutral space station filled with all kinds of creatures from across the galaxy. As the doors opened, Silara stepped out, dressed in a simple but elegant cloak that hid most of her royal attire. She wanted to avoid attention. Merrill walked beside her, scanning the crowd. "The human should be waiting at Dock 27, she said. Silara nodded but remained silent. Her heart was pounding. This was ridiculous, wasn't it? A princess of the Velthari Empire, meeting with a human mercenary in the hopes that he might be different from the rest of the galaxy. It almost felt like a foolish dream. But she had to try. When they reached Dock 27, she spotted him immediately. Ryan Carter was not like the other aliens she had met. He was tall by human standards, but nothing like the towering Velthari warriors. His brown hair was slightly unkempt, his jacket worn from years of travel. A blaster rested on his hip, but he stood with an easy confidence, as if he didn't need it. As she approached, he glanced at her and smirked. Well, didn't expect a royal to show up personally. Thought you'd send some official with a stack of contracts and a fancy speech. Silara lifted her chin. I prefer to handle important matters myself. Ryan chuckled. Fair enough. So, what's this all about? Your message was interesting. Silara hesitated. How was she supposed to explain this without sounding desperate? She decided to be direct. I am seeking a mate, she said. Ryan blinked. Come again. I require a bondmate. My people and many others in the galaxy have rejected me. I was told humans do not judge by the same standards. Ryan stared at her for a moment before bursting into laughter. So let me get this straight. You're looking for a husband, and you came all the way out here to ask me. Silara's face burned with embarrassment. Not just you, she said quickly. I am exploring options among humans in general. Ryan folded his arms, his grin not fading. And what do I get out of this? Silara's embarrassment shifted to frustration. The opportunity to stand beside the heir to one of the greatest empires in the galaxy. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Sounds fancy, but why should I care? No offense, princess, but I'm not looking to be some royal trophy. Silara sighed. She had expected this would be difficult, but she had not expected him to be so casual about it. Every other alien noble she had met treated her situation like a business deal. Ryan, on the other hand, seemed amused more than anything. Merrill stepped forward, clearly impatient. Captain Carter, this is a rare opportunity. If you bond with the princess, you gain access to Velthari resources, protection, and wealth beyond your imagination. Ryan shrugged. Yeah, but that's not really my style. He looked at Silara again, studying her. Let me ask you something. Why do you want this? Is it just politics, or do you actually care about who you end up with? Silara was taken aback by the question. No one had ever asked her that before. She opened her mouth to say something diplomatic, but the words didn't come. For years, she had thought only of duty, of doing what was expected. But now, faced with a man who actually wanted a real answer, she found herself struggling. Finally, she spoke honestly. "I do not wish to be alone." Ryan's expression shifted, the amusement in his eyes replaced by something else. Understanding. He scratched his chin. "All right, tell you what. I'm not saying yes to marriage, but I'll make you a deal." Zilara narrowed her eyes. "A deal?" Ryan nodded. "I'll stick around for a while. Get to know you. See what this whole royal bonding thing is about. If I think it's worth it, then we'll talk about your proposal." Zilara considered his words carefully. This was not how her people did things. Velthari bonds were arranged swiftly, often decided in a single meeting. But humans were different. They took their time. She did not know if this would work, but Ryan Carter was the first man who had not dismissed her outright. That alone made him worth the risk. She extended her hand. "Very well, Captain Carter. We have a deal." Ryan shook her hand, his grip firm but not overpowering. "All right, Princess. Let's see where this goes." As they walked away from the docks, Zilara felt something strange inside her chest. For the first time in her life, she felt a flicker of hope. Princess Zilara never imagined that courtship, at least the human version, would involve running for her life through a dangerous marketplace. "Move, move, move," Ryan shouted, grabbing her wrist as they dodged between alien merchants and startled customers. Behind them, 3 large, heavily armed bounty hunters pushed through the crowd, their weapons raised. Zilara's heart pounded. "Why are they after us?" she gasped. Ryan ducked under a food stall and pulled her with him. "No idea, but I'm guessing someone doesn't like the idea of a human hanging around a royal princess." Meryl, who had been following them from a distance, had already disappeared, probably blending into the crowd using her political experience. That left only Ryan and Zilara to deal with their pursuers. "Stay low," Ryan instructed, peeking around the stall. "We need to get to my ship before they—" A plasma shot hit the crate beside them, burning a hole through the wood. "Yeah, before that happens." Zilara had been trained in diplomacy, history, and even self-defense, but she was not used to this kind of chaos. Ryan, however, looked perfectly at ease. He grabbed a small metal device from his belt, pressed a button, and tossed it behind them. A second later, boom! A loud, bright flash filled the air. The bounty hunters staggered back, momentarily blinded. "Now's our chance," Ryan said. Zilara didn't argue. She followed him through the maze of stalls, past alien merchants shouting in protest. Finally, they reached a small landing bay where Ryan's ship, a rugged, battle-worn freighter called the Wayfarer, was waiting. "Get in." Ryan pressed a button on his wristband, and the ship's ramp lowered. As they rushed inside, the engines roared to life. The moment the ramp closed, Ryan jumped into the pilot's seat and pulled the controls. The ship shot into the sky, leaving the bounty hunters behind. Zilara collapsed into the co-pilot's seat, breathing hard. "Do you always get into trouble like this?" Ryan grinned, flipping a few switches, only on the fun days. Zilara wasn't sure if he was joking or serious. A new kind of courtship. Hours later, after they had escaped into deep space, Zilara sat in the ship's small lounge, staring at Ryan across the table. "So," he said, leaning back, "still think this whole find-a-human mate thing is a good idea?" She hesitated. The attack had been unexpected, but it had also revealed something important. Ryan had risked his life to get her out safely. He could have left her behind. He could have refused to get involved. But he didn't. "I think," she said slowly, "that humans are different from what I expected." Ryan smirked. "Is that a compliment?" "Maybe," she admitted. He chuckled. "All right, Princess. If we're doing this get-to-know-each-other thing, let's start simple. Tell me something about yourself." Zilara thought for a moment. "I like to read." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "That's it. You're a royal princess of an empire, and your most interesting trait is reading." She folded her arms. "It is not just reading. I study ancient civilizations, languages, history. I enjoy learning about the past. Ryan nodded, actually looking impressed. Huh, that's pretty cool. Zilara tilted her head. Your turn. Tell me something about yourself. Ryan leaned forward. I hate politics. Zilara blinked. Then why were you a diplomat? Because I was good at it, he admitted. Humans don't have as much power as the bigger empires, so we survive by being smart, negotiating, forming alliances. I used to work for Earth's diplomatic corps until I got tired of the lies and red tape. She studied him carefully. So you became a mercenary. Ryan shrugged. It pays the bills. Zilara was beginning to realize that Ryan was more complex than he appeared. He acted carefree, but underneath, he was intelligent and capable. She hesitated, then asked, Do you think you could ever take courtship seriously? Ryan exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. I don't know. I mean, I like you so far. You're smart, tough, and you don't freak out under pressure. But marriage, that's a big step. Zilara nodded. She understood. Humans did not rush into bonds like her people did. Still, Ryan had not rejected her outright. That was more than she had ever gotten from anyone before. A hidden threat. Before they could continue their conversation, a loud beep interrupted them. Ryan checked the console and frowned. Incoming transmission. Zilara stood beside him as the hologram activated. A familiar figure appeared. Ambassador Drulk of the Velthari Empire, one of her father's highest-ranking officials. Princess Zilara, Drulk said, his voice tight. You are in danger. You must return to the Empire immediately. Zilara stiffened. Why? What has happened? Drulk hesitated. Your actions have caused concern among the royal court. Certain factions believe that aligning with humans is a mistake. There are those who wish to remove you from succession. Zilara's stomach dropped. She had expected disapproval, not outright threats. Ryan crossed his arms. Let me guess. Those bounty hunters were sent by someone in the Empire. Druk's expression darkened. It is possible. You are not safe, Princess. Come home before this escalates. Zilara met his gaze firmly. I will not be forced into a corner, Ambassador. I make my own choices. Drulk sighed. Then I pray you make the right one. Good luck, Your Highness. The transmission ended. Ryan turned to her. Well, looks like you've got bigger problems than just finding a husband. Zilara took a deep breath. It seems so. Ryan studied her, then smirked. Guess that means we're sticking together a little longer, huh? Zilara surprised herself by smiling. I suppose so, Captain Carter. As the ship drifted through space, she realized something. For the first time, she was not facing her problems alone. And maybe, just maybe, that was what she had been searching for all along. The silence in the Wayfarer's cockpit was heavy. Princess Zilara sat in the co-pilot's seat, her mind racing. The message from Ambassador Drulk had confirmed her worst fear. Her own people wanted her gone. Ryan Carter leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. All right, Princess, you've got enemies in high places, bounty hunters on your tail, and a whole empire that might want you dead. What's the plan? Zilara let out a slow breath. I cannot return home. Not yet. If I go back now, they will either force me into an unwanted bond or remove me permanently. Ryan raised an eyebrow. By remove, you mean? Yes, she interrupted. She did not want to say the word aloud. Ryan whistled. Cold-blooded politics. Gotta love it. Zilara clenched her fists. It is not politics. It is desperation. The royal court fears change. If I bond with a human, it will challenge centuries of tradition. Some see that as a threat. Ryan tapped his fingers on the console. So, what do you want to do? That was the real question, wasn't it? She had spent her entire life being told what was best for her, what was expected of her. Now, for the first time, she had to decide. I want to prove that my choice is right, she said finally. I want to show them that humans are not weak, that they deserve to be seen as equals. Ryan smirked. So you need a human who can impress an entire empire. No pressure or anything. Silara turned to face him. You are the only human I know, Captain Carter. And so far, you have not disappointed me. Ryan blinked, caught off guard. Then he laughed. Well, that's a first. Usually, people expect me to mess things up. Silara tilted her head. You are intelligent, capable, and unafraid to speak your mind. These are rare qualities, even among the greatest warriors. Ryan gave her a look. Careful, princess. You keep talking like that, and I might actually start believing you like me. Silara's cheeks warmed slightly. I would not have chosen to travel with you if I did not find you interesting. Ryan chuckled. All right then. If we're proving humans aren't pushovers, we'll need a plan. The plan takes shape. Ryan pulled up a holographic map of the nearby systems. We can't just tell people humans are strong. We have to show them. The best way to do that is to find a problem no one else can solve and fix it ourselves. Silara nodded. Agreed. But what kind of problem? Ryan's eyes scanned the star map. Then he pointed to a system on the outer rim. There. Silara leaned in. The Draken system. Ryan nodded. There's a colony on Draken 4 that's been dealing with pirate attacks. The Galactic Council won't send help because it's not their jurisdiction, and your Galthari Empire doesn't care about it. But if we solve the problem, we'll get the colony's support, and that means more people backing your decision. Silara considered the idea. It was risky, but it made sense. Do you believe we can stop the pirates? Ryan grinned. Princess, I don't believe in fair fights. I believe in winning. Silara sighed. I assume that means you have a plan. Ryan tapped the console. I've dealt with these kinds of guys before. They operate out of hidden bases, hitting supply lines, then vanishing. If we can track their movements, we can find their base and take it out. Silara frowned. But there are only 2 of us. That is not enough to fight an entire pirate fleet. Ryan smirked. Who said we were fighting fair? Into the lion's den. 2 days later, the Wayfarer arrived in the Draken system. As they approached the colony, a distress signal came through. This is Governor Rena of Draken 4. We are under attack. Pirates have breached the outer defenses. Ryan's hands moved fast. Looks like we're right on time. Silara tightened her grip on the chair. What is the plan? Ryan's eyes gleamed. We need to make an entrance. He pushed the ship's engines to full power and dived straight into the battle. The colony's defenses were barely holding. Small fighters darted through the air, firing at the pirate raiders. Explosions lit up the sky as plasma bolts ripped through the atmosphere. Ryan weaved through the chaos, avoiding enemy fire. Hang on. Silara braced herself as the Wayfarer spun, dodging a barrage of plasma shots. Ryan locked onto one of the pirate ships and fired the ship's cannons. A direct hit sent the enemy vessel spiraling out of control. A message from the colony came through. Unidentified ship, who are you? Ryan grinned. Just a couple of concerned citizens here to clean up some trash. He turned to Silara. Time to show them what humans and princesses can do. Silara nodded, her heart pounding. For the first time, she wasn't just running from danger. She was facing it head-on. And with Ryan Carter by her side, she was ready for anything. The sky above Draken 4 was chaos. Explosions flashed like lightning, and streaks of plasma fire crisscrossed the battlefield. The colony's defenses were struggling against the pirate fleet, and if they fell, thousands of innocent people would be at the mercy of ruthless raiders. Ryan Carter gripped the controls of the Wayfarer, dodging enemy fire as he assessed the situation. All right, princess. Time to earn our keep. We need to turn this fight around. Fast. Princess Silara sat beside him, her eyes sharp with determination. What is the plan? Ryan smirked. Simple. We hit them where it hurts. He pointed to the largest pirate ship, the Bloodfang, hovering near the colony's main supply hub. That's their command ship. If we take it out, the rest will scatter. Silara nodded. Then we must get aboard. Ryan blinked. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You want to board an enemy warship? Silara folded her arms. I assume you have another plan. Ryan exhaled. All right, fine. But we'll need a distraction. He flipped a switch, activating the Wayfarer's external speakers. A loud screeching sound filled the airwaves, causing confusion among the pirate pilots. Silara winced. What is that? Ryan grinned. A little something I call tactical noise pollution. Scrambles their comms and messes with their targeting systems. Works like a charm. With the pirates momentarily disoriented, Ryan steered the ship toward the Bloodfang. A daring infiltration. The moment the Wayfarer latched onto the Bloodfang's hull, Ryan and Silara rushed to the airlock. Ryan checked his blaster, while Silara unsheathed a small energy blade from her belt. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Didn't take you for the knife-wielding type. Silara gave him a look. I was trained in close combat. Do not underestimate me, Captain. The airlock hissed open, and they stepped inside the enemy ship. The corridors were dimly lit, the walls covered in crude graffiti and battle scars. The stench of oil, sweat, and burnt metal filled the air. Stick close, Ryan whispered. They moved through the ship, avoiding patrols. The goal was simple: reach the command center and disable the ship's power systems. Without their leader giving orders, the pirates would fall into disarray. Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the corridor. A group of armed pirates appeared, blocking their path. A massive alien, covered in battle scars, grinned. Well, what do we have here? A lost princess and her pet human. Ryan sighed. Why is it always the ugly ones who talk the most? The alien pirate growled. Kill them. Ryan and Silara sprang into action. Ryan fired his blaster, dropping the first two pirates before they could react. Silara ducked under a swinging blade, slicing through the attacker's armor with precision. She moved with speed and grace, her training evident in every movement. Ryan shot another pirate, then turned to Silara. Not bad, princess. She smirked. Try to keep up, Captain. With the corridor cleared, they pushed forward, the face of the enemy. At last, they reached the command center. The door slid open, revealing Captain Drosk, the pirate leader. Drosk was a hulking brute with cybernetic arms and a jagged scar across his face. He stood at the control panel, watching the battle outside. So, he rumbled, turning to face them. You must be the troublemakers. Ryan aimed his blaster. That's us. Surrender now, and maybe we won't throw you out the airlock. Drosk laughed. You think you can threaten me? My fleet outnumbers the colony 10-1. Even if you kill me, the attack will continue. Silara stepped forward. You are wrong. Your fleet follows you because they believe you are strong. If you fall, they will scatter like frightened animals. Drosk sneered. And you think you can defeat me? Silara raised her blade. I know I can. Drosk roared and charged at her. Silara sidestepped at the last second, slicing at his cybernetic arm. Sparks flew as she severed one of the power cables, weakening his grip. Ryan fired his blaster, but Drosk's armor deflected the shot. The pirate swung his remaining arm, knocking Ryan backward. Silara didn't hesitate. She lunged, driving her blade into a weak spot in Drosk's armor. The pirate captain gasped, his eyes wide with shock. Ryan recovered quickly and delivered a final shot to Drosk's chest. The pirate stumbled, then collapsed. The room fell silent. Ryan exhaled. Remind me never to get on your bad side, princess. Silara flicked the blood off her blade. Then do not give me a reason to. Victory and recognition. With Drosk dead, Silara quickly accessed the ship's control panel. She activated the emergency distress beacon, transmitting a message to all pirate ships in the system. This is Princess Silara of the Velthari Empire. Your leader is dead. Surrender now, and you will be spared. The response was immediate. One by one, the pirate ships disengaged from the battle and fled. Without Drosk, they had no reason to stay. The colony was safe. When Ryan and Silara returned to the Wayfarer, a transmission from Governor Rena appeared on the screen. Captain Carter, Princess Silara, you saved our colony. We are forever in your debt. Silara straightened. I ask for no reward, only that you remember what happened here today. Humans and Velthari, fighting side by side. Rena nodded. I will make sure the entire sector knows the truth. As the transmission ended, Ryan turned to Silara. Well, Princess, looks like you just made history. She allowed herself a small smile, and I did not do it alone. For the first time, she felt a sense of belonging, and perhaps, just perhaps, she had found someone she could trust. The battle for Drakenfor was over, and the pirates had scattered. The colony was safe, and for the first time, Princess Silara felt that her decision to trust Ryan Carter had been the right one. But their journey was far from over. Aboard the Wayfarer, Ryan leaned back in his chair, stretching his arms. Well, Princess, we saved the colony, defeated a pirate leader, and made a name for ourselves. Not bad for a week's work. Silara, seated beside him, was deep in thought. The news will spread quickly. The Velthari Empire will hear about this. Ryan smirked. Good. Maybe they'll finally realize humans aren't as weak as they think. Silara sighed. Or maybe they will see it as a challenge. Ryan's grin faded. Right, that's a problem. Before they could discuss further, an incoming transmission interrupted them. The screen flickered, revealing the face of an older Velthari male, dressed in royal blue robes. His silver eyes were cold and calculating. Silara inhaled sharply. Counselor Vorik. The man smiled, though it did not reach his eyes. Princess Silara, you have been quite busy. Ryan crossed his arms. Yeah, she's been doing something your empire should have done. Protecting innocent people. Vorik barely acknowledged him. You are making dangerous choices, Princess. Returning with a human by your side will only cause more difficulties. Silara's hands clenched into fists. The people of Drakenfor now know the truth. Humans are not weak, and neither am I. Vorik exhaled slowly. Then prove it. Ryan raised an eyebrow. What's that supposed to mean? Vorik's gaze was unreadable. Come to Velthar Prime. Face the royal court. If you wish to change the way things are, you must do it properly, not by running or fighting in distant colonies. Silara hesitated. She had spent so long avoiding her homeworld, fearing what awaited her there. But if she truly wanted change, she could not hide forever. Ryan leaned closer. This feels like a trap. Vorik smirked. Perhaps, or perhaps it is an opportunity. The transmission ended. Silence filled the cockpit. Ryan exhaled. Well, that was dramatic. Silara closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her thoughts. Then she looked at Ryan. We are going to Velthar Prime. Ryan groaned. Knew you were gonna say that. The journey to Velthar Prime. The flight to Velthar Prime took several days. During that time, Silara prepared herself for the confrontation ahead. She had trained in combat, diplomacy, and leadership, but facing the royal court was another battle entirely. Ryan, on the other hand, prepared in his own way. You realize they're going to hate me, right? He said one evening as they shared a meal in the ship's small dining area. Silara tilted her head. Some will. Others may be curious. But that is why you must be there. You are the proof that humans are worthy of respect. Ryan sighed. No pressure or anything. Silara gave a small smile. I believe in you, Captain Carter. Ryan blinked, surprised. Then he smirked. Careful, Princess. You keep saying nice things about me, and I might start thinking we're friends. She simply nodded. Perhaps we are. Ryan chuckled. Well, that's a first. Arrival at Velthar Prime. Velthar Prime was unlike any world Ryan had seen before. Massive crystalline towers stretched into the sky, their surfaces glowing with energy. Sleek skiships glided through the air, while the lower levels of the city shimmered with neon lights. But despite the beauty, there was a tension in the air. Silara could feel it. As the wayfarer descended, an escort of royal guards awaited them. The moment Silara stepped onto the landing platform, she was surrounded by Velthari nobles in elegant robes. Some looked at her with interest, others with contempt. And when Ryan stepped out behind her, the entire crowd stiffened. Murmurs spread through the gathering. A human. Here. Ryan leaned toward Silara. I don't think they like me. She whispered back. Then we must give them a reason to respect you. A deep voice interrupted them. Princess Silara. Silara turned. High Chancellor Malric stood at the edge of the platform, flanked by elite guards. His expression was unreadable. You have defied tradition, he said. You have brought an outsider into our halls. Explain yourself. Silara took a deep breath and stepped forward. I do not need to explain myself. I have proven that humanity is strong. Ryan Carter fought by my side, saved a colony, and defeated a pirate lord. If the Velthari Empire truly values strength, then we must acknowledge that humans deserve to stand beside us. The nobles exchanged glances, their expressions uncertain. Ryan decided to add his own thoughts. Look, I get it. You guys think humans are weak. But strength isn't just about muscles and weapons. It's about standing up for what's right. And if that isn't strong enough for you, then maybe you're the ones who need to change. A few nobles gasped at his boldness, but some nodded, considering his words. Malric studied Ryan, then Silara. Very well. If you wish to prove humanity's worth, you will have your chance. He gestured toward the towering palace in the distance. The trial of the champions begins tomorrow. If your human is as strong as you claim, let him prove it before all of Velthar. Ryan sighed. Why is it always trials? Can't we just have a nice dinner instead? Silara gave him a knowing look. Would you refuse? Ryan smirked. Of course not. Let's show them what a human can do. Silara nodded. Then tomorrow, we make history. As they walked toward the palace, the city lights shining around them, Ryan couldn't help but chuckle. Yeah, no pressure at all. The grand arena of Velthar Prime was packed with thousands of spectators. Velthari nobles, warriors, and scholars had gathered to witness an event unlike any before, a human standing in the trial of champions. Ryan Carter stood in the center of the arena, rolling his shoulders as he looked around. The walls of the Colosseum glowed with energy, and high above, the royal family and council members watched from a balcony. Beside him, Princess Silara stood tall, her royal garments flowing in the wind. She placed a hand on his shoulder. You do not have to do this, she whispered. Ryan smirked. Come on, princess. I've been through worse. She nodded, but her eyes held concern. The trial is dangerous. It is designed to test strength, skill, and endurance. Even Velthari warriors struggle to pass. Ryan shrugged. Good thing I'm not a Velthari then. A deep voice boomed through the arena. Let the trial begin. The first test, the Beast of Karak. The gates at the far end of the arena creaked open, and the ground trembled as something massive stepped forward. A Karak beast, a towering six-legged predator with armored scales and glowing red eyes. Its roar shook the entire arena, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Ryan sighed. Why is it always giant monsters? The beast charged, its claws digging into the ground as it moved with terrifying speed. Ryan dodged at the last second, rolling to the side as the creature's claws slammed into the dirt, leaving deep marks. Silara watched from the balcony, her hands clenched. Be careful, Ryan. The Karak beast turned, its eyes locking onto Ryan once more. It lunged again, its massive jaws snapping shut, just inches from his head. Ryan jumped onto the creature's back, gripping onto the ridges of its armored spine. The beast thrashed wildly, trying to throw him off. "All right, big guy," Ryan muttered. "Let's see how tough you really are." Using his blaster, he fired a shot at the joint of its neck plates, where the armor was weakest. The creature roared in pain, its body staggering. Then, with one final well-aimed blast, Ryan struck its exposed nerve cluster. The beast let out a final screech before collapsing onto the ground. The arena fell silent for a moment. Then, cheers erupted. Even the nobles, who had been skeptical, now looked impressed. Ryan dusted himself off and waved at the crowd. "Not bad for a human, huh?" Scifi exhaled in relief. "You are unbelievable." The second test, the warrior's duel. The arena shifted, the floor panels moving to reveal a circular dueling platform. From the opposite side, a Velthari warrior stepped forward. He was nearly 7 feet tall, covered in silver armor, and wielding an energy spear. The announcer spoke again. "A true warrior must prove their strength in battle. Ryan Carter, face Velthar's chosen champion." Ryan smirked. "All right, buddy, let's dance." The warrior lunged, his spear striking with blinding speed. Ryan barely dodged in time, feeling the energy crackle just past his skin. He countered with his own attacks, quick, precise strikes aimed at weak spots in the armor. But the Velthari was fast, blocking each move with expert precision. Scifi watched anxiously. "Come on, Ryan." The crowd gasped as the Velthari champion knocked Ryan's blaster from his hands. Weaponless, Ryan ducked under a sweeping strike and grabbed a discarded staff from the arena floor. "All right, let's make this fair." The Velthari smirked, recognizing the challenge. They clashed again, staff against spear. Ryan moved swiftly, using his smaller size and agility to avoid powerful blows. Then, seeing an opening, he swept the warrior's legs out from under him. The Velthari fell onto his back, and before he could recover, Ryan pressed the staff against his chest, pinning him down. The crowd fell silent. Then, the warrior laughed. He stood up and extended a hand to Ryan. Ryan hesitated, then shook it. The announcer's voice rang out. "Ryan Carter has earned the respect of Velthar's warriors." Scifi smiled. He did it. The final test. The council's judgment. Ryan and Scifi stood before the High Chancellor Malric and the Royal Council. Malric's expression was unreadable. "You have survived the trial, human. Few outsiders could achieve such a feat." Ryan folded his arms. "So, does this mean humanity gets some respect now?" Malric studied him for a long moment. Then he turned to the gathered nobles. "The Velthari Empire values strength, but strength is not only physical. It is the ability to stand when others would fall, to protect when others would turn away, and to challenge what is wrong, even at great cost." He looked back at Scifi. "Princess Scifi, you have proven that our ways must evolve. And Ryan Carter, you have shown that humanity is worthy of standing beside us." The nobles murmured amongst themselves. Then, one by one, they nodded in agreement. Scifi's eyes widened. She turned to Ryan, hope shining in her gaze. "We did it." Malric stepped forward. "From this day forward, the Velthari Empire will recognize humanity as an equal power. And you, Ryan Carter, will be remembered as the first human to prove our beliefs wrong." Ryan grinned. "Well, I do love making history." The crowd erupted into cheers. A new beginning. Later that night, as they stood on the balcony overlooking Velthar Prime, Scifi turned to Ryan. "You have changed everything." Ryan smirked. "Not just me. We did it together." Scifi nodded. "Perhaps humans and Velthari have more in common than we thought." Ryan chuckled. "Guess that means we're partners now." Silara smiled softly. Yes, partners. As the stars shone above, they knew this was only the beginning of a new future, one where humans were no longer seen as weak.